Am I audible to all of you? Just write in the chat box. Okay. So good morning, all of you. Now, in continuation to the previous topic, uh, I am sharing my slides. Just a minute. All of you see the slides. So this is the last topic we already discussed, the instruction set and instruction formats. So just have a brief overview of the last class. In the last class, we already discussed the instruction and instruction format. What is the definition of instruction set? Then the how many types of instruction sets are there? Its design, the fundamental design issues, its operations. What are the instruction types? Like data transfer instructions, data manipulation instructions, program control instructions. We already discussed in the last class, and the most important, we also discussed in the last class the instruction formats and its types. And the instruction format consists of the opcode, operand, and addressing mode. So addressing mode is a vast topic, and we will discuss it in the next unit, right? So here the instruction formats we already discussed, these four instruction format: the zero address instruction format, one address instruction format, two address, and three address instruction formats. So these are the with example we already discussed these instruction format. Now I already shared these slides on the Google Classroom code of computer architecture. So now we will discuss some problems related to instruction format. As you can see, suppose we are given the question. All of you see the slides clearly? Just write in the chat box. Okay. So suppose we have given a question like a computer system supports one address and two address instructions, and the word size is given to you. Word size is 16 bits and main memory size is 64 words. So how many one address instructions are possible? So here you have given the word size and the main memory size. So you need to convert these into 2 to the powers. So right, if they are given you the word size is 16 bits, so the word size is 16 bits. So basically the length of the instruction set, the format is 16 bits. So this gives the total size of the word. So it gives 16 bits. So and the main memory size is 64 words. So 64 has been converted to, like, 64 is equivalent to 2 to the power 6, right? So 2 to the power 6 is equal to 64. So we need to convert it in, we need to show it into one address instruction only. So the instruction format for one address, as we already know, the one address instruction format consists of the operand and the opcode. So as the main memory size is 64 words, so it can possibly store 2 to the power 6 bits for considering it to 64. So the operand will consist of six bits. and rest of the bits. So 16 minus 6. So 16 minus 6 is equal to 10. So the opcode will consist of 10 bits. So as you can clearly see in the slide, with 10 bits opcode field, 2 to the power 10 different instructions are possible. So in one address instruction format, we can represent it according to this diagram. All of you understand it? Just write in the chat box. Okay, so such type of questions can be given to you. Maybe it will not be come in your in your semester exam, but in objective type questions, it will surely come in GATE exam or other competitive exams, and it can also come under the 2 marks question. As you know, the format of your exam, like 2-mark question, then 6 mark, and then the 10 marks question, because this subject is consist of only 80 marks and not 120 marks. So it comes under the 2-mark question. So moving to the next slide. Now same question has been given to you, and now you need to show it in the two address format. How many two address instructions are possible? In the previous question, we need to show it in the one address instruction format, but here we need to show it in the two address instruction format. So in the two address instruction format, we already know we can have two operands in the two address instruction format. So as you know that the main memory is consist of 64 words, so it can it can have to the power of 2 to the power 6. So the operand 2 consists of 6 bits. In the same way, the operand 1 consists of 6 bits. So out of the 16 bits, minus 12 bits, so only 4 bits are left for the opcode. So as you can see, only 4 bits are left for the opcode. With 4 bits, opcode field 2 to the power 4 different instructions are possible. So in the opcode field, we can write only the instructions like add, subtract, multiply. These instructions are written in the opcode field. So when we convert this into the two address instruction format, so only 16 opcodes or different instructions are possible. So and according to this question, only 1 and 2 address are possible here. No 3 address is possible, because if we convert it into 3 address, then we need to show the operand 1, operand 2, and operand 3 as well. But when we convert into operand 3, then we can have 6 into 3, 18. We need to have at least 18 bits. But here the word size is only 16 bits. So here only the 1 address and 2 address is possible, and 3 address is not possible. So all of you understand it? The same question can be asked in the 1 address format, 1 address instruction format, and in the 2 address instruction format. So this you can solve this question by using this method. All of you understand it? Okay. So moving forward to the next slide. Now the last type of instruction format is RISC instruction format. So these are the special type of instruction format which are away from the usual instruction format, like 0 address, 1 address, 2 address, and 3 address. So these are in these instruction format, the instruction set of RISC processor. We will study in detail the RISC and CISC type of systems. So basically the RISC is the full form of RISC is reduced instruction set computers. So we will discuss it in detail, but here you can only study the RISC instructions. So a RISC instruction set of RISC processor is limited to load and store instructions. So here the RISC instructions are of basically of two types, the load instruction and the store instructions. So when communicating between the CPU and memory, so all other instructions are executed within the registers of the CPU without referring to memory, but the load and store instructions are referring the CPU and the memory. So a program for a RISC type CPU consists of load and store instructions that have one memory and one register addresses. So this is the basic feature of the store and load instructions. So they can have one memory and the one register address. So here the computational type instructions have three addresses with all three specifying processor registers. So let us see these instructions by taking an example in the next slide. So we are taking the same example of evaluating the expression a plus b into c plus d. So here we have four registers from R1 to R4, and uh, M subscript is any memory location. So first we need to load the expression, the value of operand a to register a by using this instruction, and basically your the operand a in the memory has been stored to register 1, sorry, and in the second operation we need to store the memory address of the operand b in the register 2. In the same way we need to load uh, the a b c d, I mean, in the registers. So these four steps are computed from the load instruction of the RISC instruction, and after that you can see that all the four registers contain a b c and d, and now we need to calculate the expression. So the as we are scanning the expression from left to right, first we encounter the a plus b. So we need to add the a plus b, as a and b are now stored in the registers r1 and r2. So we need to add r1 and r2 register, and its the addition value has been stored in the register r1. In the same way we need to calculate the c plus d operation by adding the register values of r3 and r4 and storing their addition value in the r3 register. So now we have R1 and R3 registers having the addition values of A plus B and C plus D respectively. So now we need to perform the multiplication operation. So now this operation can be performed. Now R1 and R3 has been multiplied and its value is stored in the R1 register. At last, the value of the R1 register has been stored in the memory location by using the store instruction. So by using this example, we can show that the load and store register instructions are being used to specify the RISC instructions. So by using this method, we can use the load and store instructions of the RISC instruction set. So that's all. We finished this topic of instruction set and instruction format. All of you are getting it? I already shared its slides to the Google Classroom code of computer architecture. Okay, so let us start the new topic. I am sharing its slides. Just wait for a minute.
बढ़िया।
Now all of you see the slides clearly. Now the new topic is software and its performance. Okay. So the introduction part. So as you can see, first we define the software. Basically, the software is defined as the collection of computer programs, procedures, rules, and data. So this is the basic definition of software. But in terms of computer architecture, we can define the software as a set of instructions that directs a computer hardware to perform a task is called a program or software program. So this is the basic definition of software with respect to computer architecture. So software comprises the entire set of programs, procedures, and routines associated with the operations of a computer system. So basically, the software must be dealt with the hardware, whether it can be your personal computer, desktop, or the laptop. So the term was coined to differentiate these instructions from hardware, that is the physical component of a computer system. So the hardware can also be called as the physical component of a computer system, but the programs, procedures, routines, the instructions, these are the software components. So the software is consist of these components, and basically the software must be compatible with the hardware in order to perform any task or operation. So this is the basic definition of software. Now let us discuss the characteristics of the software. Now the characteristics of software. Now the first characteristic is functionality. So it refers to the degree of performance of the software against its intended purpose. So basically it gives the degree of performance. So suppose a software is made for such task, uh, then how much degree of performance is attained by the software. So Pratibha Soni, what is the problem with you? Or mute your microphone. Pratibha Soni. Shall I proceed further? Okay. So the second characteristics of software is reliability. So it refers to the ability of the software to provide desired functionality under the given conditions. So basically, the software must be reliable. It must be perform perfectly under the given conditions or under the given environment. So it comes under the reliability feature. Then the usability. So it refers to the extent to which the software can be used with ease. So as we all need a good software which can be usable with ease. So usability is another characteristic of software. Efficiency. So it refers to the ability of the software to use system resources in most effective and efficient manner. So it comes under the efficiency characteristics. Now moving further to the next slide. So these are some other characteristics of software. Now, maintainability. So it refers to the ease with which the modifications can be made in the software system to extend its functionality, improve its performance, or correct errors. So as you can also know that once you purchase a certain product or any good, then you can also need to maintain it, whether it can be your bike, your basically the TV, the laptop. So you can purchase it once, but you need to maintain it in order to perform it better. So maintainability is another characteristic of software. The next characteristic is portability. So it refers to the ability of software to function properly on different hardware and software platforms without making any changes to it. Suppose a software is developed in order to perform in the Windows platform, then the same software can also be performed in the Linux platform as well. So this is the portability feature. Then the robustness characteristics is it refers to the degree to which the software can keep on functioning in spite of being provided with invalid data. Suppose there is suppose there is some problem out there, then the robustness characteristics of the software will provide you in the case of adverse conditions. Then the integrity characteristics. It refers to the degree to which unauthorized access to the software or data can be prevented. So we need to authorize the software, or we can take the license before using the software. They are providing with the password. So the integrity feature of the software is also very important. So these are the 8 characteristics of the software. All of you understand it? Just write in the chat box so that we can move further. Okay. Now the another topic is types of software. Although this diagram is not in very good in very good condition, but this is the appropriate diagram. That's why I choose this diagram. Here you can see the software is basically divided into 2 categories or 2 types. So first is the system software, and the second type is your application software. I think you already studied in your first year uh, class of I think basic computer engineering, in which you already studied the system and the application software. So basically, as you can see here, the definition is here written in the. All of you clearly see this slide, or can I enlarge it so that you can clearly see it? Just write in the chat box. Clear? Okay, okay. So basically, you can see in the bottom of the software, a small definition is written. So software is a set of programs that governs the functioning of computer. So this is the basic definition. It is the set of programs that governs the functioning of computer, and we can divide broadly the software into system software and application software. So the system software basically controls the internal. It basically controls the internal computer operations, and the application software carries out necessary operations for a specified application or function. Here, emphasize the word for the specified application to function. So, we will discuss these system and application software in much detail in later slides. So, basically, the system software is been divided into generally the two parts. First is the system management programs, and its example are operating system and device drivers, so which are very much necessary for the computer uh, to start with, or and to perform the management activities of the in a desktop or in a laptop. And the other part of the system software are system utilities. So the examples of these utilities are compression, disk fragmenter, back utilities, disk cleaners, antiviruses. So these are the system utilities. So we will discuss it in detail in the later slides. Now comes the application software. So application software are further divided into two parts. The first is the general purpose software, and the next is the specific purpose software. So in the case of general purpose software, the examples are word processor, the presentation, the spreadsheet, image editor. So basically, the Microsoft Word it perform the Word, Excel, and PowerPoint gives you the features. So it basically the general purpose software come as the examples of these. And the other category of application software are specific purpose software. So these specific purpose softwares are basically built for specific purposes. So first is the reservation system, then the attendance system, then the billing system, then the report card generator, etc. And I think most of you uh, create the software in your school days related to the attendance system, the reservation system, then the hotel management system. So these softwares basically comes under the specific purpose softwares. So moving to the next slide. So basically in the system software, two softwares are very important for functioning of the desktop or the laptop. So the first is the operating system and the second is the device driver. So basically the operating systems are essential collection of softwares that manage resources and provide common services for other software that run on top of them. So basically, this is the core and provide the base for other softwares to run on top of the operating system. So the examples of operating system is as all uh, we all used is Windows, and some of you can also use the Linux platform. These are the popular systems, popular operating system. So supervisory programs, bootloaders, shell, and Windows system are the core parts of the operating system. So the operating system all contains these parts. So in practice, an operating system comes bundled with additional softwares, which also include the application software, so that a user can potentially do some work with a computer that only has one operating system. So basically, the operating system is the most important part or the software for a computer system to perform the task. So then comes the device drivers. So which operates or control a particular type of device that is attached to the computer. So basically, we already know that there are a specific device driver for example, like keyboard, mouse, and printer. So all are having the specific device driver. So each device needs at least one corresponding device driver, because a computer typically has at minimum at least one input device and at least one output device. So a computer can have a minimum of one input and one output device. A computer typically needs more than one device driver. So in order to perform all the tasks in coordination with each other, there can be many device drivers, and these device drivers basically perform the input function and the output function. Then there are some peripheral devices as well. So these are the most important system softwares, like operating system and the device driver. So I think all of you understand it. Now moving to the next slide. So this is the basic arrangement of softwares. You can see from the core there is hardware which are under the core, and the hardware consists of CPU, disk, mouse, printer. So these are the hardware which comes in the core, and the hardware can be covered in from the system software, and the system softwares are the operating system and the other system utilities or the device driver. And on top of the system software we can have the application software. So the applications of these are some of the examples of application software, like spreadsheets, word processors, the database, internet browsers, computer games. So these are all the examples of application software. So you can understand with it with the diagram that hardware is in the core, and hardware can be covered with the system software, and the system software can be covered with the application software. So moving to the next slide. You can see from this diagram in a much better way, because the previous diagram is comes with the I mean the oval shape, and this diagram is in the rectangular shape. As you can see, in the core or in the base there is a hardware. Hardware consists of CPU, memory, network, hardware, hard disk, etc. And on top of the hardware, you have the system softwares, which consist of operating system, then the utilities, compilers, debugging tools. These comes under the system software. And on top of the system software, there are application softwares. So these are the example we already discussed. So you can draw any of the diagram as per your wish. Uh, Either it can be of rectangular one or the oval shape diagram. So moving further to the next slide. So this is the flow of control from the user to the hardware. As as the user can perform the task, so it can goes to the bottom. Like if a user can perform the task, then it can move to the bottom from user to the application software, then to the operating system, and then the hardware. And in the same way, the flow of control can be then upward from hardware to the user. You can see from hardware to the user, this line of flow of control can be drawn. So moving to the next slide. I think all of you clearly understand it from the figures. It is very much easy for you to understand. Shall we proceed to the next slide? Okay. Now let us discuss in more detail the system software. So the system software is a collection of programs designed to operate, control, and extend the processing capabilities of the computer itself. System software is generally prepared by the computer manufacturer. So basically you can see that the system software are basically prepared from the computer manufacturer. So these, and not by the user generally. So these software products comprise of programs written in low level languages which interact with the hardware at a very basic level. As we already see from the diagram, that system software are much more closer to the hardware than the application softwares. So these are written in the low level languages like machine languages or the assembly languages, which are much more closer to the hardware. So system software serves as the interface between the hardware and the end user. So from the diagram, we clearly see that the system software comes in between the hardware and the user. So some examples of system software are operating system, compiler, interpreter, assemblers, etc. So these are the common examples of the system software. So moving to the next slide. So features of system software. So this is the list which comprises of the features of system software. So first is it is very much close to the system. The system means the hardware. The second is as they are very close to the system, so they are fast in speed. But in the same way, they are very difficult to design. So only the manufacturers or the big companies design the system software. And they are very difficult to understand as well. They are very much less interactive to the user because they are much more closer to the hardware, and they are small in size. They are difficult to manipulate. We cannot manipulate the system software because it is not manufactured by the user. Generally they are manufactured by the company, so generally written in low level languages which are very much close to the hardware. So these are the important features of system software. Now moving to the next slide. Then comes the application software. So the application software products are designed to satisfy a particular need of a particular environment. So basically, application software are made for satisfying the specific requirement. So all software applications prepared in the computer lab can come under the category of application software. So application software may consist of a single program such as Microsoft Notepad. So Microsoft Notepad is also the example of application software for writing and editing a simple text. So this is the task performed by the Notepad, and the Microsoft Notepad is an example of application software. So the application software, it consists of a single program. It may also consist of collection of programs, often called a software package. For example, the Microsoft the Microsoft Office is an example of the software package which consists of the Microsoft Word, Microsoft Excel, Microsoft PowerPoint. So these are the packages which consist of Microsoft. So Microsoft Office consists of these packages. So application software is used by user to perform a specific tasks. So application software are installed according to users' requirement. So as the difference is that the system software are much more closer to the hardware, whereas the application software are closer to the user. And based on the user requirement, we can build various application software which are performing the various tasks. So some of the popular examples of application softwares are like payroll software, the student record software, inventory management software, income tax software. So and other softwares like railway reservation software, Microsoft Office suite software, Microsoft Word, Microsoft Excel, Microsoft PowerPoint. So these are all the popular examples of application software. Now moving to the next slide. So the important features of application software. So just contrast to the system software, these are much more closer to the user, and they are much more easy to design than the system software. They are more interactive to the user. but they are slow in speed because they are far from the hardware. Generally written in the high level languages. High level languages are the examples of high level languages are C, C double plus, Java. So these are the languages which can be understood by the user and not in the machine level languages. The machine level languages are called the low level languages, and system softwares can be built in the low level languages, whereas the application software are built in the high level languages. So C, C++, Java are the examples of high level languages which are easily understood by the user. So easy to understand, easy to manipulate and use, and bigger in size and requires large storage space. So these are the important characteristics of application software. So all of you understand it? Just write in the chat box. Okay. So now comes the comparison. So this is the other popular question which comes often in the exams. Write the differences between the system software and the application software. So these are the popular differences of the application and the system software. So then this is the last topic for today's class because only 5 minutes are left for today's class, and we will discuss this topic. And this is the last topic. So first is the definition. All of you clearly see the slide, or can I enlarge it? Just write in the chat box. Okay, it is clear to you. So basically the definition of the system software. System software is the type of software which is the interface between the application software and the system. So system means the hardware. So basically the system software comes between the application software and the hardware. On the other hand, the application software is the type of software which runs as per user request. It runs on the platform which is provided by the system software. So in order to run the application software, we must have the system software. So basically the system software is mandatory in order to run the application software. So the next point of difference is development language. So in general, the system software are developed in low level language, which is more compatible with the system hardware in order to interact with. Whereas in the case of application software, they are written in the high level language, as we already discussed in the previous slides. Now the third difference is the usage. The system software is used for operating computer hardware. So basically the task of system software is to operate the computer hardware and how it can perform and in the management part of the computer hardware. On the other hand, application software is used by user to perform a specific task, like the specific task of the by using the MS Word or the PowerPoint or the Excel sheet. So these are the specific tasks, so which can be done by the application software. The next difference is installation. And the system software are installed on the computer when operating system is installed, right? So first we install the system software, and on the top of system software we can install the application software. So on the other hand, application software are installed according to users requirement, and they are installed on the top of system software. So first system software need to be installed, and after that application software will be installed according to the need of the user. And the user interaction, the other difference is user interaction. As mentioned in the above point, system software are specific to system hardware, so less or no user interaction available in case of system software. On the other hand, in application software, user can interact with it as user interface is available in this case. Uh, the next difference is dependency. Then the system software can run independently. It provides platform for running application softwares. On the other hand, in application software can't run independently. Can't run they can't run without the presence of system software. So in order to run the application software, we need to have system software installed in the system. And the example. So the examples of system softwares are compiler, assembler, debuggers, drivers. On the other hand, the some examples of application softwares are word processor, web browsers, media player, etc. So these are the important differences of system software and application software, and this is the most important question uh, asked in the exams often, to differentiate between system software and application software. So all of you understand it? Just write in the chat box. So that's it for today's class, and now you can leave the class. Thank you very much.